Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're excited to have Tommaso Giovannini here on the first episode of the OLA Beach Tennis Podcast. I'm Blake.
I'm Brian.
And we're the co-founders of OLA. Today, we have a super exciting guest here directly from Italy, from the birthplace of beach tennis, from what I understand. But Tommaso, would love for you to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tommaso Giovannini, and you pronounced well my last name, so I'm happy. And yeah, I'm from Italy, and I'm so excited to be part of the first podcast of OLA. And I'm from Italy. I'm from the city, close to Ravenna. I'm from Lugo, the city where beach tennis was born in the end of the 80s, more or less. And I grew up there playing all the summer. But it wasn't like a winter sport when I started, just like on summer. So when me and my family were moving to the beach for the summer vacation, in June to September, I was playing every day. But at the time when I started, there weren't indoor facilities. So everybody was playing, couldn't play really in the winter. But when I was 6, 7 years old. When I became 10, they started the first school of beach tennis, also in indoor facilities. And that was the real moment where I realized, oh my gosh, I love beach tennis. I want to play all year long. And then I go through all my life. So I'm happy that they create indoor facilities back to that time.
And we'll get there, but you've won a world championship, which from our understanding is the biggest accomplishment in the sport. And you've won many of the biggest tournaments. Actually, recently, last week, you were in Brazil and won a BT 400. So we'll explain that. But maybe we take it back to the news.
Let's think about 6 or 7 year old Tommaso. So you're in Italy. Beach tennis is all the rave in your city. Who's teaching you when you're 6 or 7 beach tennis?
So that's very crazy. My first coach was the one guy that was working inside one establishment on the beach. So his name is Vittorio Cenacchi, and he's my real first coach. And when I became for the first time number one in the world in 2019, we organized a dinner, and with all the people that participate to my whole career to achieve that goal. And for sure, one of the first that me and my dad decided to invite was him, because he was the person that pushed me to start to play. And that when I was 9, 10 years old, more or less.
So right away, were you pretty talented at beach tennis, even at 6, 7?
I wouldn't say I was super talented. I had a lot of passion, because talent, we can see many different type of talents. There is a talent the one that you say in Federer, for example, that you look at him and say, wow, how he's playing. I wasn't like that. My talent was the talent of love and working hard, every day. I love this sport. I want to become one of the best. So I guess that was my biggest talent that all my past coaches saw on me.
But just out of curiosity, 15 years ago, was beach tennis a possible outcome in life? Your parents, were they supportive of you to try to play this sport professionally? Because I can imagine that, the money and lifestyle is not quite the same as being a Federer, playing actual tennis, right?
Yes.
So beach tennis is definitely big in Italy, and it's growing specifically in Brazil, which is where Brian and I found the game. And in our mission through OLA is to bring that same energy and passion to Los Angeles and additional cities around the US. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, I'm just curious, did you feel supported as a child to have this dream of beach tennis? And was that a common belief that people shared, or was this more of a risk that you took on the sport?
For sure was a little bit a risk, because it's still a growing sport. It's much bigger instead of when I start, but it's still a growing sport. It's not like tennis or beach volleyball as well. But I was lucky, and I'm lucky because I think that my dad is the biggest lover of this sport. So he always he never pushed me to play and tell me you have to play or I really want to become a champion. But he had so much passion, and it was so natural for me to play with him when I was a kid every day. So every time I'm winning, I always think about him, because he was the real first one who helped me to understand my passion on beach tennis. At the time when I finished high school, so when I was 18, I was in a moment where I was thinking I want to be only professional beach tennis player or I want to study. And I decided to keep going on studying. And then I did like 2 years of university. And when I was like, after 2 years, was the real moment where I was really start to travel so much. When I was like 18, 19, especially 20 years old.
Was there a club team at your university that you got to play beach tennis? So, for example, Brian and I in college, I played golf and Brian played baseball. So that was a pretty defined path, I think, in the States, is you have the university teams and you can play. And if you get out of that, maybe you can go professional. But were you doing this on the side, or was this through the university? Did they offer that as a sport?
I would love that university was offering beach tennis, but University Italy is not offering any sport. So there is still like this old mentality that if you're like good in sport and you want to create a career on sport in Italy, university and especially teachers are looking at you like someone that really doesn't want to study. So you feel like judged a little bit. But me, I wasn't caring anything about what they were like telling about me because my exams were perfect. I was one of the, I don't want to say one of the best of the university, but I was very good at the university. But I wish like we could have a system like here where if you are like good in a sport, university is like not pushing you, but like telling you keep going with your sport and you will have a degree. And
right.
At the same time, you can become also professional. Like Leslie Ben Shelton, after he finished college, he made the transition from college tennis to tennis and reached semi-final of US Open. That is insane. But yes, after 2 years of university, I sit and I spoke with my parents and they said, I cannot keep going like that because I'm seeing like I cannot put 100% of both. I'm like 70%, 60% of both. So I'm not doing perfectly nothing. Like I'm good on both, but I'm not excellent in no one of both. So I have to decide. My mom preferred me to keep going on study. My dad also, but there was like the light of beach tennis.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had a coach called, his name is Danny Cirella. That was like a long life coach for me. That he told me, you have a very big potential to become number one and world champion one day. So it would be a pity to miss you in this sport. So keep going. Give at least one year of try 1 year of be just professional. And I did it and I achieved a very good goal in the first year. So I said, okay.
How old were you at the time?
What you said?
How old were you at the time?
I was like 20.
And you were just traveling around Europe?
Yeah.
Or the world, playing tournaments?
My first like big journey for beach tennis was in 2015. I was 20, 19 at the time exactly. And I went to Japan. And it was like a real, very far tournament because usually I was playing just Europe. And Europe is very easy to travel. So it was like my very big long flight for beach tennis, and I went to Japan, so far, different culture, big jet lag, and I won the tournament. So I said, wow, so it's cool. I can get some money, I can travel, I can meet people, I can enjoy. So I really want to keep going at that.
So you were already a professional while you were studying, and you were balancing university and professional beach tennis?
Yeah, exactly.
So what age were you when you went pro?
I would say that I'm definitely pro since I left university. So when I was 20, but honestly, I was playing big tournaments since I was 17, 18, but just in Italy and Europe.
Mm-hmm. And that was the big plunge.
Yes.
The decision to go on.
Yeah, it was very big. And I'm happy about that because I wouldn't be here today and would never met you. And maybe I would be now in an office in Italy, just making projects and be stuck in a room instead of traveling and enjoy life and achieve very good results. So I'm very proud of my choice.
And then the escalation from going pro to being one of the top players, that happened pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, because I became number one in the world in 2019, so 4 years later. But my real first great season was 2017, so 2 years later. And was a season where me and my former partner, Nikita Burmakin, that we used to play 6 years together, a Russian guy, we won like 5 tournaments in a row, beating everyone, like the best team that some years before was just a dream to win those tournaments. So there we realized that we can be like the best team also. And after that, with a long ride, reaching final of World Championship and also losing final of World Champion, we achieved the dream of first becoming number one of the world, and then we become world champion. And for the people that maybe doesn't know the difference very well, number one in the world be like one in the ranking, ITF ranking, that is a tennis federation ranking, and world champion is just the title of winning one tournament. There is once per year and different places, and if you win the tournament, you have the title of world champion that stay forever. Number one of the world is amazing as well, but it's something of like temporary.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe to calibrate this for more of the U.S. audience, because we have the PGA Tour, we have the professional sports leagues like the National Football Association. Is there a universal equivalent in beach tennis, or maybe it's the ITF? And then can you just explain a little bit about how the tournament structure works? As we understand, you recently won a tournament in Rio, and that was a BT 400. So maybe could you explain what that means, and in contrast to the World Championship, and how the points and ranking system works?
Yeah, so ITF is managing like tennis, but tennis is managed by ATP and WTA for women and ATP for men. ITF is managing the Grand Slam for tennis, wheelchair tennis, and beach tennis. So it's very good that we have it, but at the same time, for the growth of the sport, I hope in the future there will be just a federation just for beach tennis, because if you are like something bigger, maybe they don't care about you so much. So it's still in progress. I feel like once we will have our own federation, beach tennis can reach Olympic Games like beach volleyball did in the past when they split from volleyball and just become beach volleyball. And I guess they just started here in Manhattan Beach. So. But by the way, ITF now, there are like different grades of tournament. Mm-hmm. The most important one is World Championship. After that, there are the Sun Series. So World Championship, if you win, is 1,000 points. And Sun Series is like the Grand Slam. This year we had like 6 Sun Series, and I won one of those and lost one final. And they give you 600 points. And after that, there are the BT 400. So I would compare like Sun Series and BT 400 like same level, more or less.
It's all the best players.
Yeah, all the best players. Then there are BT 200. That is like still good because there are still some money, but not all the team are going. And then after there is BT 100, BT 50, BT 10, that are like small tournaments that most of the time is just like local team from the countries that they organize. Mm-hmm. It's rarely you see like, for example, for a BT 50, like let's say in Venezuela, that there are like many French, Japanese team. You will see mostly Venezuelan team.
And so you're saying the ranking system depends on the field. How do let's say we wanted to throw a BT 50 in Los Angeles to start, maybe grow to a 200 or 400. What does that process look like? Do you need to secure some of the best players, and that's how you get assigned the point system, or can anybody host a tournament? I guess is my question.
Yeah, everybody can host a tournament. You just need to request to ITF. I never organized a tournament, so I really don't know like the mechanism between. But they just ask to like a feedback, like showing them like the sponsors that you will have for organizing the tournament. If you're just putting the money by yourself, and then once they put in the calendar, people can start to register using the website called iPin. That is you inscribe yourself, you pay like $30-40 by year, and then you can register in all the tournament by ITF.
So for example, like if we started with an LA event and maybe it's a smaller event like a BT 10 or a 50, but then you and some of your friends that are also top 10 players in the world decide they want to come to Los Angeles and play, would that get more points then? Is it based on the field, or it's just based on the submission? Like, hey, we want to throw a BT 50, here's who we're trying to attract. Like how would that work?
So if a BT 50, maximum point can be 50. So also if you organize a BT 50.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they're like the best players in the world aren't super incentivized if they can only win 50 points.
You can get more points, for example. So BT 400, 400 points, BT 200, 200 points. But from the BT 200 above, so BT 400 Sincere World Championship, you can add like bundle, that is like extra points that are for extra hospitality, because for BT 200 above, there is a mandatory hospitality for the top 4 teams. and Send Series top 8 teams, men and women. BT 200 and BT 400 top 4. If you add like the bundle of hospitality, you upgrade to top 8 teams, women and men, and there is more points. Then there is TV and streaming bundle. That means that you're making a very good job, like full covered tournament. And the bundle of officiating that is like referee and line umpire since like first round. And
So basically, there's an incentive structure depending on the quality of the tournament that kind of maps to how many points they assign. That's interesting.
Cool. I was thinking, switching gears a little bit to growing the amount of players in beach tennis. And I was thinking about this because not everyone's from the birthplace of beach tennis like yourself. So out of, let's say, the top 25 players, is it more common for people to come from a tennis background and learn beach tennis, or have more pure player beach tennis players?
I would say that right now, the like real pure beach tennis player we can count in one hand. I would say that like there are very few, like me, Michele Capelletti, I'm not counting anymore. Like
A lot of people start in tennis.
yeah, like people that just played whole life beach tennis are very few. Maybe now I'm missing someone, but I just like very few. Let's say 90% of people are transitioned from tennis to beach tennis, and also beach volleyball, but more from tennis. Yes.
And thinking about a lot of the OLA community members that come from tennis, at the pro level, what advantages or disadvantages do you see of people, pure beach tennis players versus tennis, kind of adoptees?
So, I mean, pure beach tennis players, they just grow with, and they have like all the secrets and like the technique, because technique for like all the shot is so different from beach tennis and tennis. So like people that play all life tennis, they already mechanize, and in their brains they have some kind of movement that they are good like for starting, but if you want to become a pro, you have to change it radically. So you cannot keep the same. The only shot you can keep is the serve and the smash. All other shot you need to change. So for sure, if you see like playing, let's say one tennis player, 1 year playing beach tennis against a all life beach tennis player, you can see like the all life is winning like 6-0. Also, if you play just 2 years, let's say one guy played just 2 years beach tennis against one guy that is playing tennis all life and play beach tennis since like 6 months, 1 year, the pure beach tennis player is winning 6-0.
I mean, we have some data to back that up, right? Because our tournament that we hosted, there were a lot of former D1 tennis players, which are much better racket sport athletes than me specifically, being a golfer and a basketball player mostly. But I felt there was a big advantage of just knowing the beach tennis shots, because if we were to go out on a tennis court, I don't think I'd win a single point. But in each beach tennis, being able to actually compete and win some of these tournaments just from training the specific movements, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is quite exciting for a lot of new people that maybe they didn't, play tennis their whole life, but they still are interested in to come learn. I think that it's very greenfield. It's very open opportunity for a lot of people around the world that want to start to play.
Yeah, just I think that to become competitive and start to compete in tournament, they just need 1 year, let's say 8 months to just start. Let's make an example of the number one of the world of women, Giulia Gasparri. She started to play beach tennis in 2013, and in 2015 she won World Championship, and now she has 5 World Championship titles. But she has a poor talent, so for her it was so easy. So it's like a diamond on the scale, but let's see, she needs like at least 1 year and a half. Winning World Championship is crazy. In men, I guess it's impossible now. But yes, everything is possible. The only difference from all other sports with racket, I would say, for example, if a tennis player moves to padel or moves to pickleball or paddle tennis here in Venice, they can become good in 1 month.
Much faster, right?
Very fast, because you have the bouncing and everything. Beach tennis is like a paddle sport, but very different from everything. The technique is on technique. It has nothing to compare to tennis. So it's a very slow sport to become pro for a tennis player. That's the reason why through the years, never happened that like a tennis player that just start to play beach tennis won against top players. And if you see in pickleball, you see that like every weekend, like a random player just move from tennis and defeat like number 7 in single. And I'm just thinking, wow, it's like if like a tennis player is coming to play a BT 400 and defeat me and my partner.
No chance.
Like, it's impossible. But that's also, I think, a challenge for the people that are coming, because once you become good in beach tennis, it's very, very fun. I mean, more fun than all other sport with racket I tried so far. So.
And I think, Brian, I mean, when we first started OLA, you were pretty convinced when we first found the game for a few reasons. I know we ran a lot of the analytics to see the fact that people are Googling beach tennis more. Mm-hmm. But do you maybe want to summarize like our hypothesis or bet on beach tennis, just given some of the attributes the game possesses and why we're so bullish on it?
Yeah, I mean, starting off, you played in beautiful locations: Italy, California, Brazil, etc.
Not bad.
No. I think borrowing some of that, the explosion of pickleball in the U.S. is it's so inclusive, right? So you can come out. We always say within 15 minutes you're having fun in beach tennis, right? Like, correct a few things, you're hitting the ball over, and then the beauty of beach tennis that OLA's mission is around is that flow state. So you get kind of lost in the point. You're just chasing the ball. You're not thinking. You're just reacting. And I think just by inviting our friends first and then, growing this community organically, we found that people just get addicted to beach tennis.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that you can dive for the ball, right?
And I love it.
On the pickleball court or in tennis, you're going to scrape your elbow.
Exactly.
On the sand, you're just going to get a little sandy, which is kind of part of the game. So, you can really embrace your inner golden retriever chasing the frisbee. Shout out to Zion. No, I think that's really unique, is just the fact that, you can dive for the ball. And then, I mean, the structure, to your point, right? Because when you're playing tennis, or at least historically growing up, a lot of the tennis courts are in cages, obviously, to keep the balls within bounds. There are no bounds in beach tennis, right? You're on the beach. It's a completely open infrastructure. And I think what our thesis was within OLA is, like, even if you're not playing and you're in the queue, maybe you're chatting with someone that new, or you're just enjoying on the beach, right? It's not a bad place to just hang out. And so that dynamic that, you can play the match, have a sweat, meeting people, but also when you're in the queue or waiting, trying to infuse the game with music and wellness activities and activations that keep people excited and connected is something that, we think is a big opportunity in the sport and a unique competitive advantage that beach tennis has above like a padel or another sport that encloses encloses the arena, where beach tennis is completely open and you almost can throw like a big party on the beach and have people playing and people enjoying, which, I think is unique. But it's also, I'm curious to hear your vantage point or, just initial impressions when we first met, which I think was about a year ago, because it's probably quite different to see a bunch of random people who maybe don't really know a lot about beach tennis, but are just finding the sport for the first time. And are there other communities around the world that you've seen that possess these similar attributes? Or just, at first impressions with OLA, and then I think you played in our most recent tournament. So kind of like from when you first met us to where we're at now, like any kind of comments would be interesting from you, just given the fact that you've traveled your whole life around the world playing.
So I remember I just discovered about you randomly on Instagram, because at the time I was playing in the same place where you're organizing, like in Santa Monica, the main events. And I was like, wow, there is like new people playing beach tennis, and mostly young, fit, and good vibes. I said, wow, what is that? So I chat, and then I met you virtually, and you invited me to come to one tournament that you host, like I guess was like last November. Mm-hmm. And I just came with a friend, Tina, and I was like, wow, I mean, all new faces, I mean, nobody that I was knowing here, because first of meeting you, every time I was going to play in Santa Monica, in Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, like from 2018, that was like my first time coming here to play. Since first time I met you, all people are playing beach tennis I know here. So let's say that
it's a small community, right?
It's a community that maybe is counting 250 people at the time. And I was going also to San Diego sometime, but it's like a class of 150 people. And then I arrived there that November, and I saw like, I was already a big community, like maybe 200 people, 250 people, all new, all young. I see that was something of different, because not all the court were playing 2 against 2, so it's like 3 against 3. So it was like, wow, a new beach tennis. But I wasn't caring at all, because my real mission why I moved to the US is like I want the sport to grow here. And looking at that, I was so happy. And thinking about that event to just, let's say, the last tournament you organized some weeks ago, like so well organized with so many people, so many categories, and how many people there were? Like
We had 120 people play.
no,
Like 400 or 500
Yeah,
throughout the
400.
day.
yeah, and everyone was playing, and that's incredible. That's so good, and that's so fast growth of beach tennis. And I'm so thankful about what you're doing because you help beach tennis to grow here more than everybody else in the history. I mean, also my sponsor Mark from Sexy Brand always try to help, but he's running a brand, so he cannot be so focused to be on the beach. But it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm sure that it's just the beginning. This it's just like the first location, and it's gonna be huge. And maybe thanks to you and thanks to me, to all together, we can run to Olympic.
Yeah, I think that's our goal, right? Get beach tennis on the Olympics, get more people playing it. Maybe universities will have a team at some point in the future when our children are in school. You never know, right? I think the sky's the limit, but that's super exciting. Maybe we transition a little bit into the economics of the game, which I think people are probably interested in, and general purse sizes and sponsorships. I could imagine that when you win the world championship in beach tennis, you're probably approached by a lot of the brands. And so just to talk a little bit about, like I said, the economics and sponsorships, and you referenced Sexy, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But do you want to walk us through that? So you win the world championship in beach tennis. A couple weeks go by. I mean, curious to hear like who's reaching out. Did you do a new sponsorship at that time? And you know, the evolution of that from a business side would be kind of interesting.
So from 2015 to 2022, beginning of 2022, I had the same sponsor called the Max Beach Tennis MBT. That is one of the most iconic brand of beach tennis from Italy. But I mean, the contract at the time was like for everybody. I mean, not just for me. For like, let's say the top 10 player was just some money that you were using through the year to cover the expense to travel. So
and some equipment, I'd imagine.
Exactly. I mean, the pad, all the uniform you need. I mean, that is the base, I guess. And the only things you get in your pocket at the time was just the prize money of the tournament.
And could you put additional sponsors, like, you know, if a technology company wanted to put their logo on your jersey, is that something that's...
Yeah, most of the players are still doing, and I was doing as well. But after I won the World Championship, I met also Mark here, and I'm so happy about the partnership with him because I feel like he's one of the most, I think he's the most professional brand, like for beach tennis. Is like not the longest ever because I think they start like in 2013, something that, maybe later, 2014, 15, 16, more or less around that age. But the equipment that they're giving me and the edge they're giving me is so good, and I really feel like a professional player traveling, and they help me to cover expenses. I get money, so not only me, also as a player, have good sponsor as well. But
so there's more money coming into beach tennis now than there was.
But that not was after I won World Championship. Was more thankful also to the start of Brazil love of beach tennis. After, let's say, after COVID. Brazil started to become like a fever of beach tennis, a little bit like here in US of pickleball, but the same in Brazil for beach tennis. And if before COVID they were counting, let's say, 200 people playing in Brazil. Now there is like a not specific number,
millions probably,
but
right?
let's say more than 2 million. Maybe now we are around 3 million people playing. So it's a lot. And Campinas, São Paulo is the capital of beach tennis right now. We're like, there are hundreds of clubs. Hundreds is incredible.
Wow.
The arena were like fixed court with lights and many coaches, many like people that pay monthly to play. And
it's the epicenter of beach tennis now, right? Which is where we found the games. It's probably worth just like rehashing for those that aren't familiar with the OLA origin story of where we found beach tennis. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
You were there.
Yeah, I mean, so for context, my wife is from Rio, and we were in vacation there in a place called Angra dos Reis. And I'll never forget, we were at this party, And I was talking with one of my wife's best friends since childhood, her husband. He said, I'm investing in this sport called beach tennis. We're building a facility in Orlando. And in my head, I'm thinking, what the is beach tennis? This guy is sounding crazy. But I was curious because it's two things that I'm passionate about, which is racket sports and the beach. So naturally, tell me more. The two words together are captivating. I didn't take it so seriously at the time until I had an opportunity to play for my first time at his house in Angra dos Reis in the backyard. And it clicked. It's like, wow, this game could really be big. It's easy to access. It's not as difficult to learn as tennis. You can dive to the ball. It's very dynamic, and it's just a lot of fun. And so Brian and I, had a chance to play a little bit in Brazil, and we came back to LA, and then we observed that there were actually a few courts in Santa Monica, and they weren't leveraged that often. And specifically, none of our friends, like the younger demographic, nobody had heard of it. Nobody was playing it. And we tried to really infuse what we've cultivated in the west side of LA, which is wellness, community, music, cupping, ice baths, with this new emerging racket sport to make it relevant and get people excited. Because I think just beach tennis on its own, it's very difficult to define a new sport. People already have so many hobbies. But when you can infuse it with something that people are already comfortable with, and a bit of a loss leader strategy. So, for example, buying hundreds of rackets and big speakers and just begging people to come try it for free, and like getting people excited, and then shifting over to OLA now, where we have our own rackets and brand. But do you want to share a little bit more context on that?
I think that's the story. I mean, and then I moved to LA and dislocated my shoulder. So Blake and I were like searching for new sports to play. And he's like, well, I found this beach tennis sport in Brazil. And I also said, what the F is beach tennis? And then so I had my arm in a sling, and we were out there playing on volleyball courts. They were like, wait, there are 8 permanent courts in Ocean Park.
Yeah, we had no idea.
3 minutes from where we live. Same thing. Yeah, texting, hey, can we get a game? And it's like, now we have 2 courts. Now we have 3 courts. Now we have speakers.
Now we're going to do our first tournament and teach everybody the rules.
But I was thinking the same way that, we put our own kind of personality and spin on beach tennis. Obviously, we love that you have one of the biggest personalities in beach tennis, right? This crazy horse persona. When you win the points, you're screaming. You're wearing it all on your sleeve. What's the backstory to Crazy Horse?
So, I mean, from the nickname, you can understand a little bit without also knowing the story. Watching me play is also easier to get why, but the story started like in the real beginning of when I started to play tournament. So let's say around 2011, I was like 15 and I started to play my first tournament, local tournament, just after like under age, when I was like 12, 13, I started to play against like adult people. And in Italy, there is a big culture, so the level was very high. And sometimes I was participating also like some pro, playing with amateur in this kind of tournament. So for me, it was a challenge, like the only chance I got to play against top player, not like a pro team of top player, but at least playing against top player. And I will always remember once I played like a quarterfinal with like my best friend, Gianpaolo from Italy. And he's a tennis player, so he's good in beach tennis. He's not bad. He could be a good player as well, but he loves beach tennis. But by the way, we were playing against this top player called Nicolò Strano, one of the most iconic players as well. And we won, but he was playing with not a very good one. But during the match, I was screaming like I was beating Federer in the central court of Wimbledon. Everyone was like, what, like that, like crazy. And when I finished the match, like an old man, walked by to me and he told me in like the dialect of my part of Italy, but
translate in Italian. You're gonna say it in Italian.
It's like, sei bravo te, però quando giochi devi stare un po' calmo, sei proprio un cavallo pazzo. So he just said, oh, you play good, but calm. You have to keep calm. They call you seem a crazy horse. And after that, like that nickname was like, because a lot of people were like listening the conversation between this is the old man and my partner Gianpaolo listens that. And after that, every time we were, because at the time there wasn't Instagram, so on Facebook we were like posting picture of us playing, and he was calling me the crazy horse. And after that, everybody started to call me the crazy horse. So that was just the beginning. But I guess it's a good nickname also, not only for beach tennis. In general, in my life, I'm a crazy horse, and I'm proud to be.
I love it. Love it.
You got your new racket, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think the tournament that you played in recently, you have your new racket, which is called the Crazy Horse by Sexy, and you've won with that. Do you want to talk a little bit about the new racket that you guys are coming out with?
So we just announced today on the page of Sexy the officiality of that is gonna be released very soon, and I start to use it in August. And first time I just played with that one, I just love it. And with that racket, honestly, I think I played, let's say, 7 tournaments since August, and I won like 4 tournaments maybe, and lost 1 final and did 2 semifinals. So I had like a very good statistic with that paddle. So it's a naturally, I say, I love that paddle, but it's not just because it give me lax, but because it's very good, it give me like very good performance, and it's giving me everything I'm required from a paddle. And I think that Mark and all the team of Sexy made an amazing job to create the paddle for my type of game. That doesn't mean that people cannot use if you are not a pro player. A lot of people can love the paddle also if you're not a pro. It's a very like for everybody's, let's say, everyone can play with the Crazy Horse paddle, but I'm very happy about the job they did, and I will keep going until the next one. So
yeah, we've actually had Brian, we've had a chance to use it a little bit, and I'm curious to hear your experience with it, because I know that ever since you've gotten it, you've been kicking my ass with it. So
Much more awesome.
It's like I need to get one of these.
I think, my hand-eye coordination, I always played defensive beach tennis, and just the aerodynamic nature of this new racket, it just, I can slam it and serve so much easier to actually get that topspin.
mm-hmm.
So it's really
lighter.
I get a little tight going back, and I kind of ease in one of those. I'm just like, I'm just gonna be my own crazy horse, and
Like coming in and out.
let's just think fly.
it's the next step to become an animal. Right?
So that foreshadows a little bit, and I know we're going to wrap up here shortly, but we are really excited to actually form a partnership with Sexy as well. So Brian and I have had a chance to meet with Mark, who, by the way, is the CEO of the Sexy brand, and we're in collaboration on an OLA and Sexy collaboration racket. When Brian and I first started OLA, we built a racket to go after the first paddle, right? The first opportunity to enter into the game that sat somewhere between the higher end brands for a couple $100 and the cheap ones that you buy from China on Amazon. And we put unique artwork and graphics on it based out of West LA. And we've almost sold out of all of the units that we started with, but the natural evolution is to create a more premium racket. And I couldn't think of a better partner in yourself, Tommy, being a former world champion, and also with Sexy, one of the best brands in the world, to have a collaboration with. So we're super excited about that. We will share more details soon, but collaborating on that racket's a dream of Brian and I's, and we're so thankful for the opportunity to go 3K carbon and really put a racket in the hands of some of the best players in the world, and evolve our brand that started in West LA with wellness and more of a social club to actually potentially sponsoring some of the best players in the world with an infrastructure and a racket that's used by some of the best. So we're super excited about that.
It's amazing. I mean, having a paddle created by Sexy is like in tennis having a paddle created by Wilson. So it's like the top of the top, and for you that like decided that and has the possibility to collaborate with Sexy is just amazing, and I'm sure it's gonna be very successful. If you sold so many paddle now, I cannot imagine how many you will sell now in the future, because it's just a natural consequence of selling many paddle with Sexy. So
stay tuned for the pre-order.
Yes.
Around Christmas time. We'll have that out, and Brian's working on the artwork now, but we're excited to share that with you guys.
I think maybe one fun thing to close, right? So we're thinking about what's Tommaso doing, looking forward. We talked about your past. You've been world champion, #1. What's on your kind of vision quest the next, let's say, 1-2 years of your life in beach tennis and beyond?
So now, honestly, for sure is try to, I don't want to see not humble, but I want mainly everything in beach tennis. So now is trying to win again, like a world champion title, or become #1 of the world as well. But honestly, it's like try to keep my shape through the years, win more as I can. And now I just start a new partnership with a young guy from Latvia. It's called Max Anderson. So I'm very happy about that. So let's say that now my goal, the biggest goal I have, is becoming number one team within, let's say in 1 year, 1 year and a half is my biggest goal.
You have a big opportunity to climb the rankings again next week, from our understanding. Do you want to talk a little bit about the tournaments that you're going to be playing in the next couple of weeks, and maybe the consequences if you're able to have some success there again?
So the ranking, I mean, when I just moved here last year in April, I was number 2 in the world. And then I couldn't have the best opportunity to play all the tournament because I was just moving here. And then I had like an injury on my knee at the end of the year. So I was like not in my best shape ever and possibility to play. So I jumped from 2 to 25. So just last May, I was number 25 of the world. And I had many victories this year so far. So I came back to number 7 with the rest of the victory in Rio. So it's just a good goal so far. But I have a winner mentality, and number 7 is not the numbers that I like. I mean, I like number 1. So I want to be back on the top. It's still a long way. But if the next tournament is going to be in Aruba in 2 weeks, it is a BT 400 plus bandos, and then there are plus 2 more BT 400 in Brazil. If we do like very good results, I mean winning or just reaching final like that, we can go higher in the ranking and becoming the number 2 team in the world. So it can be a very good chance for us. Being number 1 team, we still need more tournaments. 3 are not enough, but we don't have any point to defend in the future. So it's going to be an easy get point for us for any result we will do. So we are super excited, super motivated. We are young. I mean, he's younger than me. He's 24. I'm 28, so I'm still pretty young as well. But
what is the average age of the top 10 beach tennis players in the world?
Let's say the average is 27, 28, 29. And for example, in the 2020, the number 1 of the world was 40.
Wow.
So I will say that you can, if you keep a good shape, you can be at top until 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time. And right now it's a little bit moved to younger generation, but until like some years ago, the average was 35, 33. Now I just move a little bit to younger generation. So it's a long journey. You can play until like, to be professional until like 38, 39, no problem. Mm-hmm. I just won this year a tournament, a BT 200 with a guy called Garavini, that is like a legend of this sport, that is turning 40 next year. And we defeat like very young people. So
I actually lost to, I think, about an 86-year-old guy in Rio. And Sigino, he's a very famous entrepreneur, had a swimsuit brand in the 70s and 80s. And it's really like, I think you explained it once, it's like a game of chess. It's an athletic game, of course, but if you know how to place the ball and the fundamentals, you can really play beach tennis, your whole life, which is actually one of the reasons I love to play golf. My grandfather got me into the sport because he was able to play it at 70, 80 years old without any injuries or consequences. So I think beach tennis is one of the unique sports that you can play at a very high level all of your life, and you can play with your grandchildren where, you're not maybe going to go play football or basketball or other American sports when you're 70, 80, 90 years old, right? Which is, I think, another additional attribute that makes beach tennis so approachable, and it's just super exciting. I know we're close to wrapping up here, but maybe just last couple of questions. Once Tommaso gets back to number 1 in the world and starts to win the rest of these tournaments, I think it's not if, but when. What's next? So the next 10, 15 years, we've exchanged a few ideas regarding the Crazy Horse Academies and other entrepreneurial efforts beyond beach tennis, which you've referenced in your studies, but any aspirational, goals or things that you'd like to share just to wrap up?
Sure. For sure, I would like to make a lot of money in my life, and I would like to make a lot of money with beach tennis. So I guess that right now, being professional, maybe in some years you can get more money, for sure, but now, as I share with you, and we have the same idea also for the academy, I guess it is a natural consequence, a direction, I would say, to create a very good business, and it can be very cool. And my dream is like making enough money in the future to own a very good house here in Los Angeles, and having a family here that everybody's playing beach tennis, and go to college, and maybe inside the college there will be beach tennis, and she can get scholarship playing beach tennis. That's a dream, right? The dream, yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Tommaso, thank you so much for sitting down with us. We're really excited to collaborate with you on this racket and also implement a lot of the training and infrastructure to our OLA beach tennis curriculum, which we're really excited about. Just really taking the game of beach tennis to the next level. I know we started with an idea of mixing wellness with beach tennis. We're at a point now where I think there's a lot of demand for people wanting to better their skills, and having you as a partner alongside to help us further develop and take the game to the next level in Los Angeles is something we're really excited about. So stay tuned for more. With that being said, good luck down in Aruba.
Yeah,
Thank you.
See the crazy horse in action.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can see live, eh?
Plus 150 odds. Get your bets in now. Tommaso Giovannini.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate for the invite, and it was also like my first long podcast of my life, so I'm very happy to did it, and I'm so happy about our collaboration, about our partnership, and I think both of our vision are like good mix, and it's the best way to help beach tennis to grow all together. And
All right.
let's do it.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Looking forward to it.
Good. Animale.